Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've been listening to this debate, which obviously has been going on for a few hours, and just a few questions to the proponent of this bill. Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Please proceed, sir.
Through you, Mr. Speaker, what would be the legal implications, with our own Attorney General and down in D.C. from a congressional point of view, if this bill were to move forward? Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Fox.
I thank the representative for the question. The requirements over the Attorney General here in D.C. would really be nothing if this bill moves forward from just this House. There's still a difference of electoral votes that still need to be accomplished. There's still a number of other steps that need to be accomplished for this bill to become effective. Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Srinivasan.
So through you, Mr. Speaker, Article 1, Section 10 would not have any impact as far as the movement of this bill through the chambers? Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Fox.
Through you, Mr. Speaker, I may need to ask the representative to rephrase the question. I was under the impression his first question was, well, what would happen if this particular bill gets out of this chamber and becomes law in Connecticut? Can the representative please rephrase the question, through you, Mr. Speaker?
Please rephrase the question, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes. So if this bill were to move forward, and knowing what is said in Article 1, Section 10, which would be obviously in opposition to what was happening here, how would that play out? Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Fox.
Through you, Mr. Speaker, is the representative referring to the Compacts Clause? Through you, Mr. Speaker, Article 1, Section 10.
Representative Srinivasan.
Through you, Mr. Speaker, yes.
Representative Fox.
Give me one moment, Mr. Speaker.
Of course.
Just remember, he's got a little bit of a speech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The proponent is inquiring as to, I'm trying to understand what the proponent is trying to inquire of. Is he trying to inquire if because of the 10th Amendment are states permitted to do this? Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Srinivasan.
Through you, Mr. Speaker, what I'm trying to get my hands around is that if this bill were to move forward, knowing what is said in Article 1, Section 10, how could this bill then move forward? That is my question, because it would be challenged. It would be challenged in court. And so my question is, have we looked into the fact that we are setting ourselves up to a challenge? Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Fox.
Through you, Mr. Speaker, I thank the representative for the question. In terms of what was mentioned earlier in terms of litigation, I will say that litigation is a fact of life after any legislation is proposed. So should this compact move forward and ultimately be approved by the 270 electoral votes, litigation is in fact a possibility, as it is with any other law or statute that's passed by this body or others. Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Srinivasan.
So through you, Mr. Speaker, if this compact is approved and moved forward, what I'm hearing is litigation is inevitable. Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Fox.
Through you, Mr. Speaker, I'd be hesitant to use the word inevitable. It's difficult to say what litigation may come from this, or any, for that matter, any other piece of legislation that comes forward. It's difficult to say at what point in time legislation may be challenged in court. So just this piece of legislation or any other piece of legislation that we pass today, tomorrow, next week could be challenged potentially. Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Srinivasan.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very concerned with this, where we are at this stage. Yes, we want to make sure that our voters are not disenfranchised. I definitely accept that. But when you have a national popular vote on the one hand, and if that is the basis by which our electoral votes through this compact will have no choice but to be given away to the national popular vote, even though we as a state would have voted in another direction, that I find that unacceptable, Mr. Speaker. So we as a state have spoken, have come up with a majority, and have decided that our 7 electoral votes go to a person. But if that a person is not who heads as far as the national popular vote is concerned, what will happen is, as I understand this, through the compact, we will have no choice but to give those 7 electoral votes to the person who we as a state did not choose, but have no choice but to give that away. That to me goes against the very grain of what elections are all about, the voice of our constituents, the voice of our citizens. And for that reason, Mr. Speaker, I will not be able to support this legislation today. Thank you.